Hello, screenwriters, and welcome to Writing for Screens, the screenwriting step-by-step project, session number 194, episode 194. My name is Glenn Gers, and I come to you every Monday through Friday at 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, if I can make it, to let you look over my shoulder, share my screen while I write a script. I just became intensely conscious that every time I say look over my shoulder, for some reason I look down like I'm looking over someone's shoulder. I apologize. Anyway, look over my shoulder, share, I did it again. Look over my shoulder, share my screen as I write a script, because I think this is a part of, I'm becoming immensely conscious of where I look. A part of screenwriting teaching that is under-taught, the part where we talk about the mechanical process, the actual day-to-day, scene-by-scene, line-by-line process of getting thoughts and feelings and ideas and ambitions into script form, and get that script written, get the scenes on the page, get the scenes into shape that people can read. That process is a craft process. Doesn't matter what kind of script you're writing, doesn't matter who you are, you have to figure out a process, and what I'm going to try and show you is the process I had to figure out for myself in a 25-year career writing for TV and movies, because it might help you when you are looking at your own blank page. If it doesn't help you, don't do it. You don't have to. It's not the right way. It's not the only way. It's just the tips and tricks and techniques that I figured out to get me through the process. And I thought, why not tell everyone how I do it, in case when they're stuck, they could say, oh, well, he tried doing this, and it might help you. That's it. That's all this is. You do not have to watch the whole thing. Do not watch 194 hours. You will not learn 194 times as much. Just pick it up now and then when you feel like it. Some people seem to like to have it on kind of Bob Ross-like to comfort them and make them feel like they're not alone as they do this. Great. Love that. But if you come in late, if you miss some of it, if you skip some of them, if you skip all of them, you can still write your script. You'll be okay. I just want to try and give you the stuff I learned. Let me also show you on my channel, if for some reason you don't know about this, I have put lessons, 10-minute videos. The topic of the video is the thumbnail. It'll say flashbacks, genre, instinct, dramatic action. And those lessons are the most practical things I can think of to give you, considering I don't know you, I don't know what you can do and can't do, so I'm just trying to show you tricks and tools and skills that might help you. See if they do. If they do, use them. If they don't, toss them. Look at as many teachers as you can after you write. It's a big thing for me. Write first, study later. Write the best you can, get it going, then try and find out how to write the greatest script in the world and sell it for $1 billion. Hello. Hi, Cyrus. How are you? Hello, Marit Litoso. Hello, Biram. Welcome. Lurk away. I love lurkers. Hello, this is Kitschy. Hello, Jean. How's your dog? Feeling better today? Yeah, feel free to lurk. You are not required. I will not point at you and say, raise your hand, tell me what you think of this. This is just me letting you watch while I work in the hope that that will help you. And also answering questions. Cyrus asked me a question about fracture. I will get to it. When I get this project sort of winding down, I'm going to try winding up some other types of live stream videos. I don't want to get into it too now because it's just too hard for me. It's too much work to be juggling different theories of live streaming. But after this gets wound down, I will be taking some of my own scripts, posting them on my website, and then talking about them, telling you how I wrote it to the best of my memory and what experiences I had with the production or non-production of them. All right. Hey, Larry, glad you are lurking. I am glad there. That's good. Bob's your uncle to you too, I write. Okay, so we are all here. We are all gathered together to talk about this project, so let's talk about it. Let us look at, all right, yesterday, if you recall, I realized over the weekend that I needed to rewrite this story, that there was a substantial element of this script that I had gotten wrong. I had put too much of it on Zoom. I was actually doing scenes which were Zoom meetings, which I genuinely believe is a legitimate form of scene at this point because it's a legitimate part of our culture and it works great on a screen. But there was something about this storyline that was bugging me, which is that there's this group of online detectives, and when one of them gets murdered, they all get riled up, and that's going to be the point of the series. However, the main characters of the series aren't in that group. So I would focus the pilot on the two people who aren't in that group, and the people who are in that group are just on Zoom. I have realized that that is not as good a show as if those people get off Zoom and show up. So that's a big rewrite. That is exactly, I was talking to a writer friend today, and I was saying, I got to this point where I was teaching, and I thought I was done, and then I realized I have to rewrite it, as often happens. Sometimes you'll be told to rewrite something. Sometimes you get a note, and it just goes, oh my God, that's a better way to do it, even though it requires you to rewrite the entire third act or something. That's what happens when you're writing. That is part of writing. So therefore, Cyrus is just saying, you didn't throw me under the bus. You just asked a legitimate question, and I will get there. So anyway, the deal is I got this idea for what I called the big alt, meaning the big alternate version of the story, which is right here. Okay. So my first thought was, I'm not going to rewrite this. These are my notes to myself over the weekend. I'm not going to rewrite this. It's just going to take too long. I'm just going to talk about how I would plan it. I'm beginning to wonder. I'm beginning to think maybe I should do it. It's not actually going to be that long, and it will make it. It's like this is the biggest problem with having this experience as a writer. When somebody tells you, or you just, when rereading it, think, oh my gosh, and you get this idea for a way to change something that you think is substantially better, you can't unsee it. I will never look at the script and not think, oh, damn, that would read so much better with this change. So I'm thinking about doing it, which means I started to outline it. Let me get this outline into the right shape here. I was working on it on my computer, so therefore it was a different shape than it was computer shaped, not screen shaped. But you guys here are widescreen with me, and therefore I tend to make the writing document wider than it is long. So here's the deal. I just went through the outline today to see how much would I have to change. And I started to get into it here. This is the first scene where these are just things to do. All right. So I began to think how many actual pages would get rewritten with this plan. And the answer is not that many. I'm going to say, so I made a copy of the outline. I don't know if you noticed this. Outline is now version 3. I took the outline that I had been working from and I just duplicated it, changed the number because I don't like to, and I'm going to just put this in. I keep a folder of my old stuff, the archive. So here's the deal. So what I did was I made a copy of the outline. Don't, if possible, when you're making any major changes, duplicate the document, save a copy, and work in the new document, because that way, in case you cut something you like or decide to, oh, how did I have that before? You have not thrown it away. Do not throw away in this digital era when it's nothing. Don't throw away drafts. Okay. Hello, Tavana. Oh, that's great. So interesting. So Okay. Oh, good, good. This is why I'm the best. In case you guys were wondering why I'm the best, this is it. All right. So what I'm thinking is, I don't know yet if I want to do this. If I was planning to try and submit this to agents or something, I would do it. There's no question. You have to. If you see a way that you just know it's better, even though it means trashing stuff you did that was good. Because remember, better doesn't mean the original was bad. It just means this is better. That's what you're trying to do when you're writing. You're not just saying, oh, I did it bad and now I have to make it okay. You're saying, I did it good and I can make it better. So that's where we are. And the question for me is, do I want to do that on the live streams, which will take, I'm beginning to think it won't be that bad. I'm beginning to think it's better than trying to rewrite bad scenes or scenes that are not good enough. Might as well fix them. Might as well make them good. So in order to make that decision, I have to actually figure out what will it take. It's like saying, okay, I want to drive to Cleveland. Well, actually, how long will it take and what roads will I take and what will it require? So what I'm doing is looking at where it would change. See, for instance, the first time it changes is the first Zoom. The biggest question is a logistical one, which is, I have originally conceived of this group of people as being spread out all over the country. I'm keeping them all in America just because it's convenient for me. In reality, they could be all over the world, but I'm going to just say they're all in America. However, some of them can or will leave more easily to go to. Like Zena, frankly, has been preparing for this, so she's on the way. Dundosky is actually not that far away, so he hops in his car and is there in a couple of hours. The other people will show up staggered, depending on how they get there and when they leave. So there's just a logistical question of timeline. What is the story? Like when would people leave and when would they show up? Now, the first thing I have to think of is the main way that this question arose, because I am saying that this story, this series, is about a group of people who meet online who get dragged into real life adventures. So I need to establish that for the audience needs to understand that, which means, how do I show that? Do I show, one possibility is I show each person going online in their own life. And that's not a bad idea. But then how do we establish that they usually meet on Zoom? Which I have decided is how they usually talk. think you need to see that. So at least one Zoom meeting is required. The question is, how do I, especially in a document that is currently still about 8 pages too long, how do I get this new material in? Now, the good thing is some of the new material will replace old material that will go, so there's still room. So now I'm just thinking, okay. I'm just thinking intercut group, getting news and deciding to travel, or do we still need the Zoom? I think we still need the Zoom. So that means that this becomes a possible event. Also, there are a couple of scenes used to establish the characters. In other words, right now, I establish the characters, like we get to know the characters better when we have this sequence here, the Websleuth sequence, where we cut from each one in their home life dealing with this, this stuff. I like that. That was a good sequence. I I got valuable stuff. I especially like the bit where McLean tries to hit on somebody and it goes terribly wrong. The question is, can I save that? Can I repurpose that? Likewise, Shrimpton wouldn't go. I can't imagine Shrimpton leaving her job to go to this. So I've got a lot of figuring out of which people would leave when. And you know what I think I'm going to have to do? I'm going to have to make a timeline. That's actually... timeline. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this outline and turn it into a timeline. Okay, so day 1, meet George. The other thing I'm going to have to do here is, get rid of this. What is this? Don't need this either. Okay, there we go. I'm going to have to change the formatting of some of these things. All right, so. There we go. That'll help. Okay. Wow, hold on. This is cool. Hi, Fatima from Morocco. I don't know how to pronounce that, and I apologize. You let me know. I thought I'd explore other career options. Person from Casablanca. What is the difference between creative consultant and... Don't be sorry. This is a cool question. You know what? I'm gonna take a second to answer this. Okay. Creative consultant is kind of a nonsense job. It's not a nonsense job in that there is an actual title that you will see sometimes in TV shows where it says creative consultant. That's actually just a writer, usually a writer who isn't on staff full time. Like I was a creative consultant on Instant Mom because I only worked 2 of the days. Everyone else worked 5 days a week. I worked 2 days a week. So I couldn't be considered, like they needed a special job category for a person who isn't full-time staff. They called it creative consultant. I think they also called it executive consultant, or I don't know, whatever the point is. The creative consultant is, we need to show that this person is on the staff or working on the program, but they don't have a official job. So that's what creative consultant. That could be anything. It could be somebody's manager. It could be somebody who's working part-time. It could be an editor. I mean, there's a lot of people who could get that. Development. Hang on. Let's really talk about this. Development. Okay, what is development? In companies that make entertainment, movie companies, TV companies, etc., when they are the script department, the people who work on scripts, that's called development. And there are many levels of executives who are hired to do that. The lowest level, and I don't mean that I mean just like pay-wise and impact-wise. There'll be somebody who comes in at an entry level or beginning level whose main job is going to be to assist the other people and to read scripts. They will read scripts and do coverage. Coverage means you write a little book report according to a certain formula as requested by the company. So somebody will give them a stack of scripts, say, here, agents gave us all these scripts. We don't want to read them. So you write a little 1-page summary of each one and tell us what you think the characters are, what's the good and bad about it, etc. That's called coverage. So development, but then as you work your way up, you begin to, development people will actually be involved in working with the owners of the company, the producers, executives, whoever they are, to say, let's strategize on which kind of scripts, what do we believe this company should do, and how do we get them? Do we come up with ideas ourselves and hire writers to do them? Do we buy scripts and ask for rewrites? Do we, there's many, many ways that scripts can be brought into a company. The development people work on that. They work on trying to meet and learn about as many writers as they can to understand what's going on in other companies. They want to know what are they developing? What is that studio looking for? There's a lot of information that development people need to know. So a development executive, and that can move all the way up to being a producer in the executive part of producing, the part where it's dealing with scripts and packages of talent once a script is done, without actually going to the set or being involved in production. There's separate paths for producing. Some producers kind of stay in the office, and some producers get more involved in the actual making. Development tends to be more on the stay in the office side. But those are among the other thing I would strongly advise you to do is don't listen to me. I am just one voice in the wilderness here. I am not the final authority. There is not a right or wrong on these things. These are great things to search on the internet. Search, what is a creative consultant in TV? What is development in TV? You just type that in. You will find interviews with people who do those jobs and people who work in those companies. There will be essays and articles and interviews where different people describe that. Read them. Read a lot of them. Watch videos where these people are interviewed. The more you get a sense of what they do every day, the better. I cannot tell you. I did those jobs back in the 1980s and 90s. So I don't know what they're like now. That was a long time ago. So that's what I know about that, Fatima. I also have to point out, I am talking about the American Hollywood movie and indie business. I do not know in Europe. I do not know in North Africa. I do not know in Asia how companies and this process operate. So please remember that that there is a lot of information to be gained by researching over time. The main thing you want to do is get a lot of different voices on all of these things, because in the entertainment world, there are no right answers. There is no absolute. There's almost no definitions of words. Okay, like as we've talked about, the word beat means different things to different people. The treatment, even script, can mean different things to different people. So it's really important that you learn a lot of different versions so that you can get a sense. There isn't an agreed upon academy. There's a movie academy, but there isn't like a institution that says this is what a development job is. Every company makes it up for themselves. Okay. Well, hi, Word Charm. I am so glad your family liked it. That's cool. Yay. Thank you. I am so glad that you are here, and just thank you for watching it. As I said, I am planning down the line to do some behind the scenes, how I did it, video live streams about various scripts, including Fracture. Hello, Rachel Waring. And Manga Express, you are completely welcome. All right, let's get back to my task at hand, which is figuring out a timeline. How fussy am I going to get about this? I am going to make it Helvetica and not bold. And then I'm going to... Okay, so now, day one. Day two. Okay, so here's what you do with the timeline is you say, okay, literally, like this happened on, like George, we meet George, the first scene with George happens on Thursday, and then Thursday he dies. It takes a day or two for him to be discovered and the police to call Madeline. When you do day 1 and day 2, they're not actually calendar days. They are days of story. In other words, it may actually be 5 days between day 1 and day 2. The point is that this is the days that we are attending to in the story. Okay. So then we have day 3. Oh, look, I've been inconsistent. I don't like when I'm inconsistent. Okay, there we go, day 3. All right, so let's figure morning. Now, so what you then have to do is day 3, midday. I'm not sure, but when does the Zoom happen? Okay, so this is, oopsie, day 3, evening. All right. What I do know is that, like, in picturing these scenes, I know that this scene happens during daylight, but by the time Norman is trying to call, it is evening. This is still evening. This is all the same night. Okay, so but there has to be some time because, well, Dundowski's left here and he's arriving here. So then let's say day 3, night. And you can eventually get like actual times here. You can say like 5 p.m. And then you can, like, for some of these, you can decide, okay, this is 2 hours later, 3 hours later, etc., etc. So this is day 4. Okay, so now this is day 4. Day 3, night, West Coast time. On red eye. Okay. Okay. Yes, I don't have one episode. I have a whole bunch of it. The first, I don't know, 30 or 40 episodes of this live stream series, the step-by-step series, the entire first 40 or so at least are me figuring out the outline. But more valuable than that, I urge you to, first of all, look at this video, Dramatic Action. These are all videos on my channel. This is what it looks like. If you go to my main my channel, you will see all these things. The video Dramatic Action is really helpful to understand cause and effect. Likewise, building character arcs. But the main thing I would say that you want to do is there's one called Why Outline, and then How to Outline. Those videos are my best advice on the question of getting your linear thinking going. That's how this is exactly how I do it. I also would suggest, geez, I'm just suggesting away here, how to organize a project, because the outlining stuff is most easily understood when you're looking at this, which is my folder of documents. Because I feel like if you have an outline document and a text document and an overview document, you can sort your thoughts into familiar places. That is my advice on how to do those things. Okay. Both. The answer was for character reasons primarily. In other words, while yes, it's cool, the idea was I was trying to identify Norman as someone who has a foot in the 20th century and a foot in the present. That he still likes, and as he points out in the scene, he says, I like to write on my typewriter, even though he's completely capable of using a phone and a computer and all these other things, but he likes the mechanical process of typewriting because it's what he came up on. Does choosing something like that in your mindset where you're covering all your bases increase the possibility? I'm not sure. If you mean locations, no. I mean, it certainly helps. If you say, have to think about making it pleasing to everyone reading, no. I believe that trying to make things pleasing for everyone reading is a sure path to suicide, artistic suicide, in the sense that nothing pleases everyone. One of the worst things about Hollywood is the desperate attempt to please everyone. You get these routine, unimaginative, boring, shallow pieces of work because their first priority is pleasing everyone and not displeasing anyone. And yes, I understand about that. I recognize that getting someone to buy your story seems like it's the most important thing. It's not. Making the story as good as you can according to your values is the most important thing, especially now. The current atmosphere of the entertainment industry is changing. Let me see if I've got this. Oh gosh, I don't have it. Career advice. Okay, I did a video called "Career Advice in a Time of Chaos." It's in this last section, the business section. That's how I feel about the business. The main thing is, currently, the business no longer operates on a single formula. For many generations, Hollywood had a single Hollywood formula that most of the studios stuck to. They did their variations on it, but they were sticking to it, partly because for a while it was enforced by the production code, the censorship board. But even after that, corporate planning meant that everyone was like, what is the hot fashion? We're going to chase the hot fashion. As in everything in the digital era since 2005, the hot thing has actually split up into many, many hot things. And there is a weird struggle going on between monopolization and the attempt to hit the algorithm and get the 2 billion hits, and the fact that almost every audience is looking for its own thing. So the people who are looking for an action story are not going to like a little indie. And the people who are looking for a little indie, and it used to be that you simply went to a different theater for that, but that Hollywood simply made one product. Now they make many products, and my best advice for how to get something sold is be really, really skilled and have a voice. Because if someone out there wants that voice, then you will sell to them. That's always going to be the case. There is no thing you can do that will guarantee that you will be attractive to the buyer. There never was. If there was, then people would do it, okay? The fact is, almost everything that breaks out and becomes a hit broke some rule of what's in. And while then the system will churn out repetitions of it, those always are declining in power. The truth is, the thing that you are most likely to succeed with is the thing that's genuinely yours. And if that thing is not going to succeed financially, you still need to know that, because you will not do a good job faking somebody else's thing. You just aren't. And if you're not doing a good job, you aren't going to be good enough to be a professional. So therefore, do what you do as well as you can and learn what professional skills are. I believe I did an AMA, Ask Me Anything. It's in the register there somewhere of my AMAs about how do you become a professional writer. And I list the abilities that a professional writer has, which include the ability to rewrite on command, the ability to work fast. There's certain abilities that are just useful, and that no matter what your vision is or style is, you need these to become a working writer. However, once again, prioritize your work and working without anyone giving you any money. Make that the thing you do. Because if all you're doing is trying to get money, and I promise you, this is from someone who spent a lot of his career trying to figure out what do they want. And every single one of those things that I did failed. And the things that succeeded were the things where I said, what do I think is good? And like with the thing that won the Emmy that Showtime picked up, every other company turned that down. Okay, it was a holiday movie, a Christmas movie, but it was a Christmas movie. The main character was a child, except that the child was in a world of adults, and so the people who read it and said, "Oh, there's a kid in it. It's a kid's story. We don't want to do it." It happened that the guy who was running Showtime read it and went, "Oh, this isn't a kid's story. It's a story with a kid in it," and he got it and he made it. Yay! Anyway, that's it. Okay. Yes, exactly. The main thing I have to offer is what everyone else online seems to be telling you. All the writing teachers is like, this is what they want. Bullshit. If anyone knew what they wanted, then the movie business would not. Most of what the movie business or the TV business puts out fails, right? Okay, that's with all the best, highest paid people working on what they think the audience is going to want, and most of that stuff does not hit, does not make the top 10, does not make the movie of the moment. The whole point is nobody knows. As William Goldman so brilliantly said, nobody knows anything. And the best thing a writer can do in that is do something. Okay? If you were in comic books, if you were in comic book movies in 1974, you were nowhere. But if you could survive till 1990, you had a good living coming. So do your thing. Maybe it'll make money, maybe it won't. Assume it won't make money. You are an artist. Why are you assuming that money is the thing that you're going to get? Artists don't make money most of the time. Why is this even a question? Okay? You're not in business. Okay? There is a business over your art, but you are not in business. You are an artist. You are a creator. Okay. Well, you'll get to it. Okay. Yes, this is, when you're right, Javier. Thank you, G. All right. It's harder for us now for us. No. Actually, the opposite. It's actually easier now. It's tricky. It is easier to break in now because the boundaries have widened. It used to be very, very narrow. First of all, you had to be a white, straight guy. Luckily, I was one, so I could get in. However, until very recently, that was it. If you weren't a white, straight guy, you could not get a job very often. Now, at least that's not true. However, at the same time, the possibilities of storytelling have changed, because for a while there was a simple 3-act formula. There was the fad of the moment, which actually ran like a year or two, But now you could be doing a 6-episode arc or a 68-episode arc or an hour-and-a-half movie. There's so many different possibilities, and that's changed the meaning of screenwriting. And there's many, many ways to do it. If you look at BoJack Horseman and Mr. Robot and 9 Perfect Strangers and I don't know, Ted Lasso, okay? What's the formula? Ain't no formula, okay? And that's just like a teeny, like, look at all they're doing. This is a moment of enormous creativity in the business, in one narrow sense. In another sense, there is more competition, more people are trying to do it, and there are actually fewer companies doing it. So at any given moment, you could just be locked out because the company's busy. You know, Netflix is just overloaded. There are too many people trying to do it. There were relatively few people trying, I know this sounds crazy, but in the 1980s when I was trying to break in, there just weren't that many screenwriters. So anyway, that's it. Whew. Okay. So here's the question. Dawn. Okay, so now, oops, day 4, morning. Now, this morning is when everybody, okay, I'm going to say this is day 4, midday. And then this whole sequence from here on, day 4, afternoon. Okay, so basically this entire thing, really this story, when you really look at this story, day 1 and day 2 are the beginning. But really, well, no. Day 1 is a separate story. Day 2, 3, and 4, so this story really takes place over, it really takes place on 3 and 4, because this is all we get. So really, this entire story takes place on day 3 and 4, 2 days. So what I have to figure out is, let me just do some notes here. Okay. Where am I going to do this? I'm going to do this in notes. Okay. Yeah, these were the notes. I was reading through the script and making notes to myself of what I needed to do. I'm going to have to stop that now because the subject has changed. Set to today. Okay. Rethinking the Websleuths. Can we logistically organize it so that they show up at George's house? This is the task at hand. And in case any of you are wondering, the deal here is I create these documents, and I'm just gonna. Do I need this anymore? No, these were notes for you guys, so I can put them in the archive. What I'm trying to do is clean up this window. I don't need this. I'm just actually going to move that to the trash. Okay, so what I'm trying to do is focus my brain. When you start to take on a challenge like rewriting, rethinking your plot, it's very easy to get overwhelmed, lost. At least that's my experience. Hello, Natasha. So what I do is I keep it down to a couple of documents. I've got the outline, the overview, and the notes. Everything else I'm going to try to get rid of. So, for instance, with this, I am going to take those days, day 1, and I'm going to put them in the outline, day 2. Could I have done this originally? Yes. Did I need to actually duplicate the document and do it the way I did it? Yes, I needed to. It's the only way I could see it. All right. Day 3, morning, section. And this is why, by the way, I have this thing called section, this format, is that now and then you'll have a section of the script that you're trying to identify for yourself. It's not like this is going to be on the screen. It's not like I'm going to have a title card that says day 2. I just need from my own organization to understand where they are, because I have to plot out who leaves when and how long it takes to get there and when they show up. So this is purely the logistics of the actual people. I am not worried about plotting it yet. I've often talked about the fact that there's 2 layers of storytelling. There's the story and the plot. The story is what happens to the characters in their lives. That's the story. It's chronological. They experience it in the order that it happens. That's the story is what actually happened to them. The plot is how you decide to tell it. Do you decide to come in on this day or that day? Do you decide to have flashbacks? Do you decide to jump a section? That's all a separate question that you come to after you know what actually happened. Okay? So that is, yeah. No, I mean they show up to investigate George's murder. That's the thing. The key element, the key event in this story, what changes their lives and makes this whole series happen, is George gets murdered. That's why I'm starting with that. Now, some people would say the way you start a story is you introduce all the characters and show their normal life, and then you show the murder. A completely legitimate way to tell a story. Not the only way. I feel like in this case, I'm beginning to think, it wouldn't be a bad idea, but I just feel like we don't have the time to spend on that, because this series, as much as I love the group, it's about Madeline and Norman being dragged into the group. That is what, let's just remember, if we go to our overview, okay? Overview. The overview is the where I remind myself of what is important in the story. It's where I put the big theory. So here's what I wrote. This story is about a couple who fall in love when they get involved with a group whose hunt for a serial killer provokes the serial killer to come after them. That is the story. If I had to tell somebody, what's this about? So what do we learn from that? It's about a couple. It's about Norman and Madeline. Actually, Madeline and Norman. She's more important. And how they get dragged into this. So if we followed the story sequentially, then we would have to meet all of these detectives who are detecting, and then George would go and get murdered, and then we would meet Madeline and Norman. The problem is, I don't want to wait that long to meet Madeline and Norman, because we're at the pilot and we should meet our main characters as soon as possible. So that's why I am doing what I am doing. And, oh, hi, good morning to Donna in Australia. Division 5, it is not too far to call it that. In fact, it is the inciting incident. Now, what's interesting about what I'm doing here is, according to most of the how-to books, they say, put your inciting incident 10 pages in. Like, get to know the people, and then the inciting incident happens. I'm not doing that. I am saying the first thing that this audience sees is the murder. They meet this guy, and he gets murdered. Teaser. That's the technical definition term that applies to this form. The first scene hooks you into the story by showing you a thing that's like, uh-oh, what's going to happen because of this incident, this inciting incident. By the way, I did a whole, oh, look at that. That's way too big. I did a whole video on the inciting incident in which I explain this in detail. So don't hesitate to watch that video. So here's the deal. Inciting incidents can happen at the first scene, like I'm doing. They can happen before the story starts. Like I did one script where the actual inciting incident happens before a man is murdered, and if the story starts with finding his body, but the actual incident happened the night before. I like that because, man, does it hook you in. The difficulty is what I am now running into is you have to be fairly skilled at explaining who people are as the story is going. In other words, we're moving ahead, and I've got to explain who this group is after the inciting incident when things are moving real fast. I'm willing to take that on because I think it's cool. I think we like finding out, oh, he was part of this group. Oh, these are the people in this group. I believe that's, I made sure that he mentions the group in his scene. When he's explaining that he's such a failure as a podcaster, he says the only people who are listening are the members of this group. I might even tweak that and make that bigger. But what happens is I'm putting the inciting incident in the first scene because that means essentially the first, I mean, it's actually two scenes, but the first bit is George being murdered, because then scene 2, we meet Madeline, and that's where our heart lies. That's where our story is what's going to happen to Madeline and Norman when they get dragged into this thing. So that was the logic of what I was doing. Now I have to deal with the fact that I still have to introduce all these other people in a short script. So that's the challenge. But I think I might be up to it. We're going to find out in the course of the next couple of weeks. Thank you, Natasha. Thank you for the virtual hug and 26 watching now. So this is where we are. I am now going to try and figure out. I haven't finished the days. Let me go through and get my days right. Did I put this away? No. Okay. So I believe that day 3 is morning. Day 3 midday is here. Day 3 midday. Okay. Then where do I have? Day 3 evening is when Norman's trying to call her. Day 3. Day 3 evening, 5 p.m.-ish. All right. Then the night. Okay, so then the evening continues. So after the delivery guy, we have a break to day 3, night, 9 p.m.-ish. Then day 3, night, LA time, 11 p.m.-ish. She's taking the red eye. Could be at 9, could be at 11. You know what? LA time, 9 p.m.-ish. Okay. Then day 4, dawn, and then day 4, morning. And day 4, midday. Or did I bother with midday, or did I go right to afternoon? No, I did. Yeah. See, this is when you know you're doing right, when you do the same thing twice. Day 4, afternoon. Okay. So now what I have done is I have used that spare document, this timeline document, just as a way to think, just as a way to like go through it and think it. I am now going to throw that out. Move to trash. Boom. Okay. Hello, Jared. Very nice to meet you. Okay. So now I can go back to my, oh, that goes in the trash. I can go back to my notes and start the entire story in the pilot really happens in 2 days. So now I have to think, who has to get there and when? And I think the answer is, let me just make a little list here. Zena, Dundosky, McLean, Shrimpton, Ted, Cameron. Are there any others in the group? No, because Norman's already there. Oh. Norman. All right, so now I have to make sure that each one of them is timed, because these 4, don't have to show up till the second day. So that's going to work. Don't have to arrive until day 4. Cool. Hold on. Zera's saying, hi, Zera. Very nice to meet you. Yes, it's a challenge. I urge you to look at other things that do that. And this is really why you want to, honestly, all of you, this is really important. You want to watch as many shows and movies as you possibly can. You want to have an enormous library of possible story structures in your head. I have been watching movies since I was a kid, so we're talking 50 years. And I watch 2 or 3 a day, like a night. I watch at night. But I have been doing that for 50 years, so we're talking about a lot. And also, if they're any good, or if they're at all interesting, or even if other people think they're good, watch them a couple of times so that you can break them down. Take art apart. Watch that video. I talk about this. But the main thing is, when somebody says to me, I want to do a story like X, I go into my head and I say, what have I seen that's like that? Where is there for instance, there's a movie called Charade that I love. Charade is a movie from the 1950s, Cary Grant, Audrey Hepburn, old romantic comedy thriller. That's why it's on my mind here. But the main thing is it starts with a train going past in the countryside and somebody throws a body in his pajamas off the train. That murder is the inciting incident for the rest of the story. And we meet the people as we go along. And in fact, just like this one, the first person we meet is the widow. So cool. What I'm saying is I'm going to go through and think about all the different stories and how they're structured and see if there's any that's kind of like has an inciting incident early on. So Zera, the first thing I would say is think in your mind, have you seen anything where the inciting incident happens? Let's look at Star Wars, okay? Star Wars, the inciting incident happens before and people will argue this. They'll say the inciting incident is when the droid gives the message to Obi-Wan and Luke. But that is in a structural sense of like, okay, we're meeting these people. But the truth is, in some ways, the inciting incident happened before that when she recorded the incident. Like there's ways to look at it. But the main thing is Star Wars starts in the middle of action. Stuff is already happening. You're not meeting people, oh, we're on our planet, it's all very nice and peaceful, and this is who we are. Uh-oh, action's happening. It starts in the action, and then like we meet Luke when he finds the droid. So these are once you start to look for them, you'd be amazed how many stories you could say, oh, how did they do that? Okay. Also, I really would suggest watching my Inciting Incident video because maybe it'll be helpful. Yes. No, you need a document. You need to, this is, write it down. Hold on. I believe I have gotten, yeah. Write it down. The work comes when it has a place to go. This is just like the basic principle of being a writer. Write it down. Everything you're thinking, write it down. You can always throw it away, but if you're not writing it down, you are not transmuting it into the medium that you work in. Okay, you have to get used to the idea of getting it out of your thoughts and into writing form, because writing form goes in a very specific, it's on the page. It goes like that and like that for English. For some countries, it goes like that. But the main thing is it's narrative. It's written. It's in chunks, and you can only hold so many chunks in your head. It's just like there's only so many numbers that most people can hold. It's 3 or 4. So that's why like phone numbers, they break into 3, 3, 4 in America. But the point is, if you are not putting it into written form, you can't write. It's just that simple. Okay. The work comes when you give it a document to show up in. The work comes when it has a place to go. All right. Thank you, Gene. Now you know. Timeline is a smart idea as long as you then get out of the timeline and into the narrative. It's very important. The timeline, the map, the spreadsheet, those are all great if you need to conceive of something or check the position of something. But the important thing is, where is it in the narrative? And that is what I am going to be going to now is I am starting to think, how do I get them into the spot in the narrative where there is room to stop and watch them do this thing that they need to do, which is to leave home and go there. And we need to see them inspired to do that. So that is my next challenge, which I will do tomorrow, because we've been going a while and it is time to stop. Yes, lots of quips. It's very phony. It's not an authentic picture of life in Paris in the 1950s. It's Hollywood. Very, very artificial. Within the artificial, though, it's brilliantly crafted. So if nothing else, I happen to like the stereotypes they're working with and the way that they play. However, even if you don't, the craftsmanship of how information and story are building is masterful. Okay. Yes, the set pieces are amazing. It's great. This is a really good example of set pieces. Like, oh, we're going to have a fight up on the roof with a guy with a hook for his hand with the neon signs. Cool. All right. Okay. Yeah. This is all good. But like I said, the main thing I would say is just pick your favorite stories. Pick the things that reach out to you, because everybody has different natural shapes in their head, natural rhythms or ways that characters and stories happen. That's what talent is. Talent is you naturally feel something working in a certain way. And so the most important thing is that you find out which ones are natural to you and analyze how they work. It doesn't have to be charade. I mean, I just like charade. It could be the Manchurian Candidate. It could be the Prestige. I mean, there's all these different ways that you can structure things. You decide which ones you like, the ones that you understand. And that's what you decide to do, because there's no right or wrong. And with that, I am going to say, see you tomorrow. Go write something.